Good evening, y'all, and welcome to what's almost the golden hour in the garden. I have not shot a video in almost an entire week. It's Friday, and I wanted to come out here in the evening and show you some of the beautiful things blooming in the garden and show you what I've been working on for the past week. So first off, I am blown away by all the annuals that I planted just a week and a half ago. They are already growing so much, and I've not even fertilized them other than putting in some Osmocote, which if you've never used Osmocote before, I put a lot of my success into that product for container planting. I love it. I buy a huge, like 8-pound bag of it every year, and sometimes it lasts me 2 years, but that stuff works amazing. I don't do a whole lot of like weekly fertilizing. I try to when I remember, but I'm not good with those repetitive tasks and remembering to do them. And so Osmocote is incredible. This one right here is looking pretty good. You can already see how much these annuals, these 2024 annuals have grown from proven winners here. How many more blooms they put on them. They're already starting to like fill out the pot really well. I haven't got drip on this yet. I didn't get to that this week. This has been one of those weeks. It's starting to heat up quite a lot, and we had some kind of nice weather this week, so I wanted to get some tasks done that a lot of small things that I hadn't been able to get to. Some of them involved drip and getting drip to like my vegetable garden, which I did something different this year. I'm just going to show you what I did. I didn't record a video because it's also similar. And drip videos, while I like to do them because I am a big proponent of drip, don't tend to do too well on YouTube. There's a special type of person who watches drip videos, but this is what I chose this year, and I'm just going to call it Octopus Drip. I got these from Menards. They are Rainbird, or actually it says Hendrickson Brothers on the top, but I put a cutoff valve here, and each one of these individual tubes has its own cutoff. You can cut them on and off like that, which is really nice. And I ran them down, and I could actually cut off a single line if I needed to this entire bed. And so I did that in all of them. I also like this because I have a leftover. So, you know, I've used like put shrubs in a shrub bay before is what I call it. If I buy discount plants, I think I'm going to turn this area kind of into a small shrub bay, and I can connect to any of those extra emitters and just run water to them as I need it. And when I'm done for the season or there's no more shrubs, I can remove those. That'll be a good automated system for me to water things around here and give them a little protection. The vegetables themselves are looking pretty good. We've got some cucumbers popping up that I planted from seed in various places. This is parsley that's coming up, some of the basil, lemon basil. And this is a 𝗣𝗢𝗘 melon. Planted 2 seeds here. Looks like one's only come up, which is fine. And let me tell you how impressed I am with the irises this year. In 2021, I think I did a video on when I purchased some irises from Schreiner's Gardens. That was they ship them in like the fall time, late summer, early fall for you to plant. I did not get any blooms on them last year, which is odd. But they needed to settle in, I guess. But they're all starting to bloom this year right around the same time, and I'm going to take you around and show you each one of them. I don't remember the exact names of them. Some of them I do because I've been looking as they've been blooming and posting them on Instagram throughout the week. But this is one, I think this is called Buried Treasure, B-E-R-R-I-E-D. Really, really lovely. I took some video of this one earlier this week and posted it to Instagram. Look at all those gems back there filling in nicely in the space. Still some weeds. I did come through and weed everything, but we've had more pop up because we've had quite a bit of rain. This one just started blooming today. None of these blooms were here yesterday. Really lovely. I don't remember the name of this one either. Ragtop Day is kind of coming to mind. But look at that color. The Alliums are blooming. I don't know if I showed you those. Some of them are already blooming and kind of bloomed out already really quickly. I like Alliums. The foliage gets kind of gross, and I've had some viewers say They don't like them for that reason. It's just kind of something you have to deal with the alliums, and you can kind of cut the foliage off or remove the foliage pretty quickly. These were not from Schreiner's. I think these came out from like a Walmart pack. They have a really bad tendency to flop. So I don't know. This does rebloom in the fall, so I want to keep it in the garden, but I'm going to have to come up with some type of support method, buy some more of those supports I showed you a few videos ago or something. There's a blue one over here that's really gorgeous. I love that light blue color. There's one that I got that was a new release in 2021 called 𝗣𝗥𝗢𝗘𝗢. And it is kind of similar to the Buried Treasure, but a much lighter color. So pretty though. Probably my favorite out of all of them so far is one called Candy Coating, which it's been blooming for about a week now too. And the color has turned a little bit more purple as these have aged, but when they came out, they were the brightest pink, like bubblegum pink, that you could find, and just really beautiful. I've had my first rose blooms. The first one, I'll pop a picture on the screen, was Distant Drums that I got from Heirloom Roses. Olivia Austin is also blooming right now, just now starting. And those are the only roses that I've gotten so far this year, but many more buds coming along the way. The perennial border that I planted is coming alive. So these are the classic coral dianthus that I showed you from Stock Slaggers a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now that they had. We got Cat's Pajamas Catmint, Perfect Profusion Salvia, along with these alliums. Like, this is the perennial border that I was imagining when I planted this entire thing last spring. Looking really great. This is a Rose of Sharon Blue Chiffon. We got peonies that are just started blooming within the past couple days. This is Bloodstone Armeria, which is like a thrift. Really, really nice plants here. And then we've got the hibiscus, which are really progressed. I think I showed you these the other day, but look how much bigger those have got. Rise Up Lilac Days, Climbing Rose from Proven Winners. All of these Serendipity alliums are looking really nice this year, much more fuller than last year. And then the Obsidian Red Banana here, which is already putting on several new leaves since they were planted. And I love this right here, this view. I need to come through and trim all of my boxwood still. I originally planted this bed to have a lot of white and yellow, and so there are a lot of white blooming shrubs in here. This is a wedding cake Spirea. This is the first year I've actually got it to bloom. I planted it last year from a tiny 4-inch container, I think it was. Really, really lovely foliage. It's really dark for Spirea, and then the blooms are really sweet as well. And then we have the Illuminati Arch Mock Orange. So this is a smaller Mock Orange. Mock Orange can get kind of big, and it's supposed to kind of arch its way through here and kind of spread out a little bit, but not too much. So it's supposed to smell really lovely, and it does have a nice scent to it right now in spring. We got the Weigela that's blooming. This is My Monet Purple Effect, I believe. Last year, I shot a 2-part series in May called Don't Forget About the May Garden. And I'm glad that comes back up. Sometimes I see it on YouTube and I'm like, you know what? The garden is really beautiful in May. There are a lot of perennials that flush out during this time. And you don't really think about it here in Ohio because we are so cold for so long. And then we are already getting temperatures in the mid to upper 80s. Which has made gardening more difficult and also causes issues like planting stuff before it can get rooted in before it gets too warm. So that's an issue we face here, is getting things in the ground quickly with shifting temperature extremes from freezing to 80 degrees. And so it's just something we battle with. Some years are worse than others. This is a year that it wasn't terribly bad, but we're already getting warmer than I would like it to this early. Every year, pretty much I invest in a tool. And this year, I was really interested in something to assist me with doing my edging. So you've probably seen these things called bed makers, which actually are intended to be used to create brand new garden beds. They edge the bed and provide a nice natural edge to the bed. Those are really expensive. Like, I don't know if you've looked at the prices for those. Like, I'm talking $3,500 to $5,500 to $6,000. So that is not in my budget to do, but I did go this past week and purchase a Stihl combi tool. Stihl has a tool called a bed redefiner. I believe Echo also makes one as well, and it's like the KombiSystem is a motor that you can do various attachments to it, whether it be a weed eater, a trimmer, a bed redefiner. And I got the bed redefiner attachment, and I just started. I haven't completely finished the process this year, but I last edged these beds 2 years ago, and I did get the electric version. So this is kind of a review for the electric Stihl combi tool, and it did a really incredible job. I'm going to show you what these edges look like. I still need to come through and clean them up a bit, and then we got to mulch, and I got to do some other areas of the garden. But look how crisp this is. Look how nice this tool did for these edges all the way down here. So it did a nice kind of straight down and then a nice layered out effect, so I can just bring mulch in nicely to the corner and prevent the grass from growing into the garden beds. Here's another look at how crisp and clean that is. And here's my finger so you can see how deep that is. Now, I'm always kind of hesitant to invest in electric battery powered tools because just several years ago, the technology just wasn't there to be powerful enough to replace a gas-powered tool. But out of the 5 different combi tools that Stihl offers, the electric motor one is ranked second in terms of power. And I was impressed going through this clay soil. I brought it, it was actually raining the day I got it. And it's not intended to be used with wet clay soil. It needs to dry out so it's a little more powdery, so it can actually throw the dirt and nothing gets stuck in it. But I brought it out here, and it was actually chewing through some of this clay, and I actually did the bed I just showed you when I picked up that bed redefiner earlier this week. I did come back through and clean it up again after it had dried out a bit from the rain, but it was plenty powerful enough with even the soil conditions I have to do it. So it's an expensive tool as well. It's not cheap, but it'll be a great investment for me for years to come, and I can run it a couple times a year, 2 or 3 times a year. Very quickly just go around and edge these beds and keep them nice and crisp, because that's one thing about the natural edge bed. I really love them. They look really great, but if you're not keeping up on it, it can be a pain. And this could have taken me days to do manually with just a manual edger, and it took me less than an hour to go around all of these beds. Probably not even that long, probably less than 30 minutes, but I did have to stop several times to charge the battery, and I did get the biggest battery. So because it was having to chew through, the soil was still kind of wet, it did use up more power more quickly. But if I probably wouldn't do the whole backyard in one day anyway, because the tool can be kind of heavy to carry that long. But if you're interested in it, or interested in your spouse having it to help you in the garden, definitely look into it if it's in your budget. We are still just getting a ton of blooms here. This is the Checkmark Trilogy 𝗣𝗟𝗧𝗦, which I show you every year because I'm always in love with it. I took some pictures and posted them on Instagram compared with this iris here. And they were just blowing me away at how nice this looks every year. And then this bed is coming along nicely too. This is the Distant Drums Rose. It's actually blooming out now, so it looks kind of rough, but you can see this is a fresher bloom here. Because it has been so warm, I've been having to provide extra water to these annuals because we had a little bit of rain, but not a ton. And some of them started to struggle, especially on the back side there, the Angelonias. But most everything has been pretty happy since I did mulch it. It's holding in a pretty good amount of water there. And let's take a look at these containers already in just a week. Look at those new Supertunias. This is Bermuda Beach, a new variety for next year. And the Saffron Finch producing a ton of blooms already. And it's already put on, it's twice the size it was less than a week ago, if not 3 times as large. So everything, all these new plants looking really good, and they're already starting to mingle here together. I'm in love with them. Several of you were asking about this container. This is called a Pamela Crawford container, and you can order it. Just search Pamela Crawford container online, and there's several places that offer them. I can't remember which one I got it from, but it's looking really good and filling out really nicely already too. You can see how nice these new verbenas have filled out, along with the 𝗣𝗥𝗢𝗘𝗧𝗦 here has already put on a lot of growth too. So Pamela Crawford, she is a famous landscape designer, and she created these containers, and they're come on pedestals, so it comes with everything you need. You do have to replace this cocoa core from time to time as they get worn out. And it's kind of difficult to get plants actually in them because the holes can be kind of small for like 4-inch container annuals. But sometimes you can wiggle that root ball, compress it a bit, and these I actually slid in from the inside of the container, which is much easier, but you can see these already put on at least like 6 inches of growth there from when they were stuck in the container in the last video. It smells so good in the front yard. If y'all do not have, and you live, I think it's 6, 7 and below zone, plant a sweet bay magnolia. Every year this time, it is like perfume in the air. It just started putting blooms on the top of the tree, and you can smell them all across the front yard, and I love it. But this is the other container, already filling in super nicely too. This is the 𝗣𝗟𝗡𝗢𝗧𝗦 petunia, saffron finch, solar power, 𝗖𝗢𝗗𝗘𝗢𝗑, sweet potato vine, diamond frost euphorbia, pink cashmere, verbena, and there's a 𝗣𝗥𝗢𝗘𝗧𝗦 in there hidden too. We'll see if that one makes it very far. It's going to have to compete really hard to outrun these supertunias and potato vine, but survival of the fittest this year with this large container. This bed is also coming along really nicely. All of the begonias have put on a lot of growth already. Much more of the sun patients are blooming, and I actually came through and I replaced all of these Let's Dance can-do hydrangeas with new ones because they were struggling. So I pulled the ones out that were here, about half of them, and put them in containers to grow them on because I think they suffered a lot of winter dieback, and they had just one tiny sprig from the ground. So I went to the garden center and picked up new ones because it was a rough winter here for things to be in the containers outside. And so these are already putting on buds. This is one that I did not replace that's already putting on buds as well. So these are supposed to be super reblooming hydrangeas, and they're supposed to produce buds even if cut to the ground within 4 to 6 weeks, I think it says. So I'm really impressed with them budding up already, and we'll continue to evaluate these and see how they do here. But I think this is going to be a really lovely design by the time it's done. Also, check out these proven winners, incredible hydrangeas that I've showed you in several videos over the past month, and how massive they've gotten in a matter of 2 weeks. That is nuts, and already putting on tons of buds that will just be massive. In June is when they typically bloom. So since we're a little ahead of schedule, these might bloom by the end of May. I might have some small blooms, especially at the rate they're growing, but I am like blown away at how big they are this year. It is nuts is the only word I can think of. We also have some summer wine Ninebark blooming, which is also just brilliant this time of year. This one's on standard. You don't find them too often on standard, but I recommend them because you can underplant them, and I took the rest of my begonias and stuck them under there, underplanted them. Does need a little support, so you can see I've attached a support there, at least until it gets settled in. It may have to stay on support, I'm not sure, but either way, really nice accent piece here in the garden. I've also got some peonies starting to bloom behind me. I don't remember what variety these are. They were from like Walmart bare root several years ago, and now I'm gonna have so many blooms this year. I'm actually going to have to put bigger cages around them because they're starting to grow even over the cages that are there. They're too short. I had someone ask a question not too long ago on several videos ago about the landscape lighting I was wanting to do this spring, and I obviously was not able to get to that project. There was just not enough time, and I'm still not even finished mulching the garden. I'm finally about to wrap up just projects. I still need to do the drip on the patio and the pergola, so that's one of the remaining projects left. But there was not time to get to landscape lighting this spring, which is unfortunate. And after I started doing calculations on how many lights I wanted to put out here, I realized it was going to be way more expensive than I had anticipated. And so that will be a project either for the fall, or we will push that to a big spring project next year so I can get out here and do it when it's cooler, before I've mulched, and we're not worrying about tucking wire under mulch. So unfortunately, I will not have landscape lighting in the backyard this year. I may fashion something solar, or I do have electricity to the shed, so I could potentially run some nice lights out randomly in the landscape, but I'm not sure that I'll worry about that too much this year. But I do know the garden is going to be beautiful. It is already shaping up very nicely, giving me and exceeding my expectations this year. I mean, look how tall this stuff is right here. This is a phlox called Pinkedot. I added it several years ago, and if you do not have it in your garden, it is an excellent attractor for bunnies. They love to hide in it. I've actually found the nest kind of on the backside here in late spring, whether you like bunnies or not. I don't have a whole lot of problems with them eating a whole lot of things other than some small shrubs in the winter. But I don't mind the bunnies in my garden. They don't bother my vegetables or anything. It's only some of the smaller shrubs that tend to rebound pretty easily. But this stuff blooms all season long for me, and I love it this time of year because the sun shines through it as it sets behind me here, and it's about to start blooming. They have a nice white bloom with a pink center, I believe it is, but they're getting tons of buds right now. It's really thick, a nice drift, and it's breezy. It blows in the wind. You can caress it like your favorite pet. And I just really enjoy it, and I just kind of randomly stuck it here under this willow, and it's made a really nice perennial for this space. I am going to take it easy and enjoy the rest of the evening in the garden, and probably get back to work tomorrow. Thank you guys for joining me, and remember, in a world full of hate, be a light. Take care. Bye.